right.
Well, where the hell are you going?
Ubeck Sweet Factory.
What the hell for?
I work there, don't I?
Not now you don't, you soft sod.
They still owe me a week's wages. Remember me saying when I first saw Keith he lived with his grandma, right? Well, fair enough. First thing on the agenda was to get pally with the grandma, wasn't it? Feet under the table, bloody sharpish. So I did. She kept inviting me in for a plate of stew. Horrible greasy muck it was, I know. Muggins here had to provide the beer and fags.
She got a sister.
A what?
She went to be a nurse. She went to be a nurse in Doncaster. She went to be a nurse in Doncaster.
All right.
Stone deaf she was. A right old witch. 3 evenings on the trot I spent with her. You know, persevering. Still, I'd have done it for 300 just to get me hands on her, Keith. Me hands on him, me arms round him, oh God, and me legs. Needless to say, for them 3 nights, he wasn't even bloody there.
Car that size into the bargain. And I don't think it's ever seen soap and water.
I don't think she has. Her kids definitely haven't.
And they've done nothing with the garden.
No, it's a disgrace.
Well, they haven't had time, really. Fair's fair. It's a full-time job is boozing all day.
What's up?
Nothing.
What are you staring at?
Nothing.
Chevy?
No, nothing, just sitting.
Not gone off it, have you? Have you gone off it?
Off what?
Look, are you bloody coming or not?
Where?
Well, where, you daft bat? They're rotten.
I thought I'd tidy up a bit.
What for? They'll all be at it again tonight.
I'll peel some potatoes.
How do you mean?
There's something to do.
You've got enough potatoes peeled in there for a week.
Thought it'd be something to do. I nearly gave up hope of ever meeting Keith and his grandma's. 3 nights I wasted with her waiting for him to turn up. Then, on the 4th night, as she was showing her umpteenth light ale the way to go home, in he came. God, he was gorgeous.
Been playing dominoes.
Darts.
What?
Darting!
I'm too young for pubbing it. I told him. Won't listen. This is our Keith.
All right.
You want something to eat?
I've had a pie.
I'll get you something.
I hated that habit, picking his teeth with matchsticks. I thought it common.
What do they call you then?
Vivian?
Too much lipstick on.
It's a nice name, is Keith.
Vivian, ain't? Call you something else. Yeah, I'll call you Goldie.
You can have stew. See we're going to get tomorrow night. She's getting sad all in future. Little lower.
Buggered it.
Buggered what?
Don't you know?
It's safer in your house. I'll come round tomorrow if you like.
If you like, he said. Oh, brother, did I like.
Well,
Well, what?
did you go to the bank?
Are we sitting here all day?
Did you go?
Snooty sods. It's my brass, isn't it? They treat me like arse paper. They laugh at me. It's my money. I can please myself what I do.
Why, what did they say?
Usual double Dutch. Investment rate, point, how's your father, per annum, per capital, piss-holding percent. Just let them get on with it. I couldn't be bothered.
Who are they?
Christ knows.
Keith! They're gonna kill us!
Lock your door.
Mr. Nicholson, can I have a word with you?
Have they got guns? What do they want?
We're from the people. We're from the people.
Reporters. Sunday papers. The people.
The people.
What do they want, for God's sake?
We found out on Sunday morning. So did the rest of the bloody world.
Spending, spending, spending. Poe's fortune in the bank, but he's forgetting this girl and baby.
Oh, God!
Spending, spending, spending. Keith Nicholson has been splashing his money about since he won £152,000 on the pools a few weeks ago. A brand new house, a shining American car, as much as they can drink for everyone at his local, and £10,000 on each of his children. One child he's forgotten in this spending spree is a curly-haired 2-year-old toddler. But I'm not going to let him forget. I'm going to remind him that he's £22, 6 shillings in arrears on payments which the local magistrate's court ordered him to pay for the child's upkeep. Well, what about it, Keith? 25 bob a week is a lot to people like the girl you jilted and the baby you left her with. Or have you forgotten your own humble beginnings so soon?
Decent photo of me.
And what about Keith's wife, former cinema usherette Vivian? All she said was, that woman isn't going to get a penny out of Keith if I can help it.
Did I?
He's not my kid. How many more
You
times?
should have proved it at the time.
How?
Well, you'll have to put your hand in your pocket now, lad.
I am. I have been paying.
By banker's order.
It's only newspapers talk. Who takes notice of newspapers?
Morning.
Morning.
No one's blown the car up yet then?
Not yet, but they've had some offers.
I thought they'd have been blown up themselves by now.
Give them time.
I've read the paper, Nicholson. You're a heartless bastard. And your wife is a dirty whore. You want drowned in the pair of you.
Dear Mrs. Nicholson, how would you feel if your stinking husband got strangled, then you? I'd enjoy seeing that.
Watch out, Nicholson, because I'm watching you. And you're going to get a knife in your back. The police won't save you. And don't let your kids out, because I'll murder them as well.
The morning after Keith's grandma caught us snogging, I left the house as per usual, making out to Matthew and any nosy bitches watching that I was going to work. I'll come round tomorrow, Keith had said. Well, this was tomorrow. They say tomorrow never comes. I kept my fingers crossed all night to make sure that bugger did. All I really did, though, was stay out a few hours, then come back the front way. Creeping along like a Russian spy or summat so no one would see me. I sat and sat and sat while it grew dark, not budging so the neighbours would think I was still at work, just waiting and twitching and smoking myself cross-eyed. I know lovers' meetings are supposed to be secret, but this were too secret. I mean, I was one of the lovers and I didn't know what time it was going to happen. Well, I'd been out. I'd popped round to see my mother and baby Stephen. She was looking after him for me in them days. Well, I was busy working, wasn't I? Well, not that day, granted. That day I was busy panting. God, I was on heat. I'd taken my wedding ring off out of decency. Not so loud, you turning. Randy bugger.
I couldn't get the key. Oh, no bloody wonder you've left yours in. All the lights fused or something. What are you doing in the dark?
I had a headache.
Well, shift then.
Have you had your tea?
Haven't you got me none?
Go and have fish and chips.
I don't want fish and chips.
Look, I'm expecting my man round for a natter and I don't want you under my feet.
But I bloody live here.
Bloody scram, or else I'll fetch the police.
Something's up, isn't it?
I said scram.
Do you want some?
Some what?
Fish and chips.
Piss off out and stay out. Is it worth it? Is it bloody worth it?
Where is she?
Hi, Doc.
All right, Mr. Nicholson.
You don't need me, do you? I'd only be at way.
I like your costume.
Sometimes I'll stick a banana out the front. Anything for a laugh, that's me.
What's the trouble, Mrs. Nicholson?
Question, I wish I knew.
Well, tell me what's wrong.
Shaking. Headaches. I can't breathe. I swell up all over. I feel just terrible. I keep feeling I'm going to die. I can't think of nothing else.
Why should you think you're going to die,
Because we won the money. It's punishment.
Well, it'd make a change on the certificates, wouldn't it? Cause of death, punishment. Come on, let's have a look at you, love.
I can't get downstairs. I have to shuffle on my backside. We're so lonely, Doctor. No one wants to know us unless it's to catch a drink. No one invites us back. None of the neighbours speak. No good morning, nothing, not a word. They make me feel ashamed of myself, dirty, ashamed of my family. We spend hundreds of pounds at the Miners' Arms on all our own mates. But they're not mates anymore, really, not now. They've naught to talk to us about, so they don't. No one does. It's like everyone's a stranger, or we are. I've got no one to talk to. I've got no one to listen.
I see. Well, I'll tell you what the trouble is.
Punishment?
You're in a state of shock.
In what way?
Shock from winning the pools.
Well, I'll tell you what the trouble is. If it's not punishment, it's the booze. It must be the booze. It's all I do day and night.
Shock, that's all. State of shock. You haven't a thing to worry about, love.
Is it worth it? I'll say it is. As Matthew went out the front door, Keith came in at the back. We played cards for a bit. Then we just started kissing. Only kissing was kissing in them days. Kissing was beautiful. My spine were doing a jitterbug 8 beats to the bar. I wanted to ravish him, vampire him, to bite and scratch, to pull him apart, to taste blood.
downstairs.
You know what they say? If you're having a pantomime, you need the Wicked Witch.
Where is he? Who? It's only a kid, you evil bastard. Who? Bloody find him.
See, no one's satisfied.
All I could think was, if he's broken his neck, that's my sexual happening gone for a Burton. And if he hadn't, I'll tell you something else. She'd have been next on the bloody list. Go on, get out, you evil sod.
I'm sure he came into this house.
Well, you what again, baby?
I wouldn't lower myself. And don't you come into mine again now.
Hey, I thought you were dead.
What?
I was in such a bleeding temper I could have killed myself. Got hold of me throat and throttled myself. She'd spoil something so beautiful.
I don't fancy fish and chips. I'd steak pudding.
Before we won the pools, the furthest I'd ever been was the free Sunday school trip to Scarborough as a kid. Now here we were on the Costa Bloody Brava. Keith had a blue fit when I told him I'd booked 3 weeks in Spain, Tangiers and Gibraltar. He was homesick for a pint of Tetley's Mile the minute we got us passports. He cheered up when he found foreigners had booze as well. I got burnt to a frazzle every day and drunk every night. He got drunk day and night. Compared to everyone else's, our bikini looked like something the rag and bone man's dragged in. I don't know why. I bought it at Schofield's, and it's a class shop is Schofield's, one of the best in Leeds. You know what foreign fellas are? All giving me the glad eye, the oh be joyful. They said I were the spitting image of Bridget Bardot. Not that I encouraged them. Not that Keith believed me. He thumped everyone in sight, me included. Tangiers was worst. I mean, it's lovely, don't get me wrong. But there's poverty there you don't even see in Castleford. Skinny little kids living in caves. I gave them bars of chocolate. I mean, there's poverty in poverty, isn't there? Keith liked Gibraltar best because they sold English beer. Still, it was a good holiday, all told. By the time we got back, I was ready for anyone.
Well, where are you, you pale-faced farts? All skinning through your curtains, are you? You swanky bloody curtains that I ain't paid for yet. Come on, fire the lot of you, you sick, starved, la-di-da bastards!
What are you showing yourself up for?
All right, enjoyed it. You just passed.
Crash, bang, wallop. We did a moonlight flick. The new bungalow were at Garforth Cliffs. It cost 9,000 and something. Everybody called it the Ponderosa, like in Bonanza. It was gorgeous. All Spanish and G-plan, nothing but the best. But I felt no different than I'd felt in Grange Avenue. No reason why I should, really. I was still Vivian Nicholson. I was still bloody me. Hello?
Mrs. Nicholson?
Yes. No. If that's an obscene call, you can sod off.
Castleford Police here, Mrs. Nicholson.
Oh, well, not Keith again.
Afraid so, love.
Drunk again.
Just beginning to surface. He's had 12 cups of black coffee and the riot act.
Shooting brake buggered again.
Hard to tell, really. lying upside down, waving its legs in the Huddersfield Road.
Thanks, love. I'll come and fetch him. It must have been the most expensive Black Maria in Yorkshire, my Chevy. You've had a smashing time then, I believe.
I don't understand, Goldie.
I do. You're as pissed as a fart driving along and...
Not that.
What don't you understand then?
Anything.
In what way, Carl?
When I had no... I borrowed 5 bob off your mam. And I knew where I stood. I owed 5 bob. Now that I've got 150,000 quid.
You're 100,000 now, Pet.
100,000 then? I've still got note.
I don't follow, Keith.
I went to bank again. I wanted some money for a new shotgun and some binoculars.
You got a shotgun and binoculars.
I wanted new ones. I'm a rich fella, I can afford them. I ordered fresh golf clubs and all. Any road. I went to bank. And I got a bloody lecture. They make me feel like a 2-year-old. They make me feel guilty. You're 3,000 overdrawn, Mr. Nicholson. You've burnt all your tax demands again, haven't you, Mr. Nicholson? Instead of spending, why don't you take up an hobby, Mr. Nicholson? Spending is my bloody hobby.
The Littlewoods fella always advised.
Advised? Nagged, you mean? That weren't advising, that were nagging. I'm a very wealthy chap. And they make me feel as though I'm applying for national assistance. Now, how is that humanly possible when they own brass? I don't follow neither.
Thanks, 2 of us.
Any road. I'm gonna buy some fishing tackle tomorrow. Best money can buy.
Oh, let me go, let me go, let me go, lover.
Matthew came home from the mine with his pit boots on and trod on me toes. He said it were accidental. I forgave him, but my bloody toes didn't. 4 of them was broken. They swelled up like half a pound of Wall's pork and beef. The hospital put them in plaster and said I'd have to keep off my feet for a month. Then they got septic, throbbing and fat and festering. So, I stuck a knife in boiling water, shut my eyes and stabbed them. Septic white pus flew all over the room, but I was cured. I bathed my feet in Dettol and hot water, cut the toe cap off my shoe, bandaged my toes, and went dancing at the kiosk.
Please turn me loose.
There was method in my madness. I knew Keith would be there. I may be wrong, but I don't think Matthew trusted us. I expect he had his reasons. Keith told me how many light years the stars were from the Earth, but I wasn't really listening. It's a hell of a lot, though. It were freezing that night, but we weren't. Only our noses. It was the greatest sexual happening in the history of Castleford, in the history of the world. And we did it again and again and again and again and again. Bare skin against my lips, bare skin on my skin, and bare skin on a nest of bloody ants.
Ah! Ah! Ow!
After that night, I didn't see Keith for over 9 months, till after the baby was born. He knew I was pregnant, but his grandma convinced him he wasn't the father, and he seemed happy enough to believe her. I called the baby Susan, and I thought I'll have to get the poor bugger adopted. I've no option. I'd already told Matthew to sling us up, and he had. So when I left hospital, I went to my mum's in a new council house in Kershaw Avenue.
She's your child, you bloody look after her. Any more talk of adoption, I'll kick your teeth so far down your throat you'll be spitting them out your ass.
Can't afford to. She'll starve. All I've got is £3 and a shilling from the National Assistance. £3 one, the butter token.
Go back to your Matthew.
Canella's like.
What about the father?
He don't want to know. He's got nought and I'm asking him for nought. Such a thing as self-respect.
Well, you can stay here then. The two of you. 3 of you.
Got enough for your own.
I'll have a bit more then, won't I?
Oh, clean for you, ma'am. I'll earn me board, honest.
Too true you will. And you can tip up your Lloyd George money for the kick-off.
Yeah, Beer and Woodbine's calling, are they? Well, there's worse things at sea, ain't there? I had 2 kids, no husband, no money and no home. Well, I wasn't going to get grey hairs over a little thing like that. So I catched an old skirt for Jessie and a jumper and a pair of shoes, and I carried on where I'd left off.
I'm so young and you're so old. This, my darling, I've been told. I don't care just what they say, 'cause forever I will pray. You and I will be as free as the birds up in the trees. Oh, please stay by me. Get when you hold me close.
Keith was at the kiosk, puffing away at a pipe that kept going out. I played it cool when I saw him. Hard to get. I played it cool for, nearly 20 minutes.
With all my heart, and I hope we will never part. Oh, please stay with me.
He told me he tried to come and see me in hospital, but they wouldn't let him in. Well, I thought, sod it. Forgive and forget. I forgave and forgot down back alleys, on railway sidings, under canal bridges, on the allotments, on the kitchen floor when his grandma was in bed. I forgave and forgot wherever we could get our clouts off without no one seeing. I was so busy forgiving, I forgot something else. That's where babies come from. I was in the pudding club again, wasn't I? I tried everything. Gin, quinine, mustard baths, magnetic potash, lemonade and Epsom salts. I had the lot. And the next thing I had was baby number 3. Premature, jaundice, 3 pounds in weight. We called him Tim, and he slept in a Timson shoebox. Naturally, me mum took me and Tim out. She'd enough on her plate with me other 2, and by then Matthew had divorced me. On the grounds of adultery, I believe. So Keith's grandma said we could live there, with her and Keith. The old sod was in her element, crowing. Not like a crow, mind you, like a bleeding vulture. Do you like a good laugh? Well, wait for it. Tim was 8 weeks old at the time, and I was pregnant again with baby number 4. There's one thing you've got to do when you've won the pools, so I did. I booked a month's holiday in America. The best thing about Los Angeles was Disneyland. The worst thing was the taxi drivers. The only thing they knew about England was the Beatles. They hated them because the girlfriends loved them. We got to Dallas exactly a year after President Kennedy got shot. I had to go. I thought a lot of President Kennedy. It was a right rough hole, was Dallas. I'm surprised there's anyone left who hasn't got shot. In New York, I learnt to cut steak up with my knife, then eat it just with a fork. I always eat like that now. The food were very nice, but I don't think we've ever heard of vegetables. Sprouts are a nice collie. They haven't invented them yet. I saw real colour telly there and all. It stays on till God knows what time, so we never got much sleep. I mean, you've got to watch it to the end, haven't you? You don't know what happens. New York was very clean,